Hey everybody, we're Penn and Pole DFS. I'm Ricky.
I'm Keaton.
And we're here to talk to you about
PGA this week.
PGA. That's what it is. And if you watched last week's episode and you saw me pick a team and you followed them in any regard, you'd know it didn't go great. But it's a new week. It went really good for this guy.
Went pretty well, yeah.
We're going to go through all of that. We're going to talk about this week's tournament. And then we're going to get you out of there and ready to roll. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, we actually have them on here this week. Keaton is John Galt JD up there. Me, I'm TR Parker 10. If you'd like to follow our page all the way at the bottom, kind of like right there-ish. Yeah, at Penn DFS. If you want to follow any of those, that'd be great. We post mostly about, I mostly post about NC State stuff, but
I
Keaton
posted an awesome
about
video of my son telling
a
joke this week that was pretty solid. So if you want dad jokes, toddler jokes.
So if you're really interested in a kid learning how to play the drums, but mostly just telling jokes, that's what Keaton is good for, which is, in fairness, probably worth the follow, probably more than DFS stuff. If you want to follow me, I am also there. So, we'd love to follow. Anyways, nonetheless, make sure like and subscribe.
Yep, I got the like and subscribe on that. I was going to say, I almost put it down on the bottom. Bam.
Yeah, we really appreciate everyone that's watched so far. We had over 100 views on our last week's PGA.
That's huge.
First time out. That is huge. We were really appreciative of anybody that would even click on our links, much less watch any of them. But anyway, so we are going into the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Yeah, Bay Hill Country Club in Orlando, Florida.
And Lodge.
And Lodge, yes.
Is that like...
They must have a lodge.
Oh, okay. They got like bunk beds.
Can't testify.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to recap. So, nothing good happened for me in the PGA world of DFS last week. So Keaton's going to run down his week. And you see right here... All right, right over there.
This is how early Sunday started. So this was after a handful of golfers had taken the course. Most of the leaders teed off around between 12:30 and I think 1:50 were the last of the leaders. So this was pretty early in the afternoon. I am tied for first in DraftKings big $250K to first place tournament. So I'm tied here in first. I have 86 player holes remaining between my 6 golfers. So things were going pretty well. I bounced around the top 4 or 5, fell all the way out to maybe 150 throughout the afternoon, and as we'll see here, couldn't ultimately get it done. But
just to give a little more color to this picture, there's 78,000 people in this.
Yeah, this is a massive
And if
tournament.
you were to guess where Ricky is, he is somewhere around... right about here in the 72,000th range. There's no, I thought that I had a cursor. I don't have a cursor. But basically, all the way to the left side. That's where I'm at. So I didn't get a fancy little leaderboard. I got just a bunch of numbers that said, you're going to lose and not make any money this week. So as we continue through the day, I continued to be bad. But Keaton decided to...
and here's where the tournament ended up. I ended up finishing in 10th place for $2,800. We can see my score was 1.5 points short of the next pay brackets, another 0.5 point short of the next pay bracket up. And then going all the way up, I did fall about 16.5 points short of the leader. But as we'll see on my next slide, looking at my lineup, I had 2 guys that had pretty poor Sundays. Both Kistner and Rory didn't play well on Sunday. Rory in particular had a really letdown Sunday.
He shot 1 under. What do you want from him?
He shot 1 under. I guess letdown.
He won me $30 on my showdown.
Probably the wrong word, but I guess
basically the only money
I was hoping for a bigger day. Or I guess Kisner was another one that kind of let down after playing well on Thursday and Friday. He didn't play well Saturday. Played okay on Sunday, but big days from either one of those guys, or even decent days from either one of those guys.
Or if you'd had EVR in there where Kisner is.
Yeah, would have really put it over the top. But this is a shot on goal. I mean, this is why we play. This is a chance to take down DraftKings tournament. Definitely the closest I've been in this, and it's fun to do it the first week after streaming. But looking at the lineup, this is a lot of guys that we talked about, guys with good ball striking. And as we're going to look this week, a lot of the same guys. It's a similar type course. Ball striking is going to be huge, and so guys that can get hot putting if they also are hitting well with the irons. That's the lethal combination on this course, same as last week. So Ultimately finished 10th. It was a shame, but it was a fun sweat and had a real shot to take down DraftKings big tournament.
Yeah, and again, for me, not as fun. Coming in, when you start the day in 73,000th place out of 78,000, you really don't feel that good when you do make it up to 71.5.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel much better. But the hard part about all this is that as a novice DVSer, that's not right, DFSer, I had a bunch of these people in various lineups, just not to get. I did not have Markawa, and I know he really held you up really well.
Yeah,
but for the most part, I had a bunch of these people. I just didn't put them in the right combo, and I think that's kind of the hard part, right? Is that you don't it's not just about picking good people. And I feel like that's kind of what we've done the first couple of shows, is that we've pointed out a lot of people. We point out a bunch of people, and just being able to pick those people out is step one.
Yeah.
And being able to input them into a lineup that's complementary to each other is something that I don't know how to do yet. So something that I definitely want to get better as we go. But on to the next one.
This week we're at the Arnold Palmer Invitational in Orlando, Florida. It's a similar course to last week. 72, par 72, 7,400 yards. We've got 4 par 5s. We've got our prior winners down here. This is a prior winners list that's been dominated by European players. I guess some of the common explanation that I've heard this week for the narrative surrounding why European players have dominated this course is that a lot of these guys have their summer homes down in this area of Florida, or have their American homes down in this area of Florida. They play this course regularly, and so this is a course that Europeans are both familiar with, lots of experience, and then, as you see, has a lot of course history, doing well at this course.
Do you think that sometimes, a lot of the European players that come here and play well are already PGA guys, but do you think it's some of the times it's the fact that it's the week before the players, so some of the guys that are normally play in Europe are coming over to play?
Yeah,
this is really their first time to hop in. And while you see a lot of the regulars on the PGA, while some of them are here, some of them are skipping out to, I guess, go to Disney before the players.
Jason Day. Yeah, no, Jason Day's going to play this week as long as he doesn't withdraw. But a lot of guys use this as an opportunity to take a rest week. I think we see DJ out this week, Rahm's out this week. A couple other big guys that are out just to take a rest week. I think probably, like I said, before the players next week.
Yeah. And on to the next. We're going to talk about the course.
Yeah, so the weather is huge at this course. Right now it looks like we're going to have a clear course, but this is it's really tight greens especially. And so last year we saw wind come into play, and Hatton ended up finishing -4 for the whole tournament. That was the low score. And so that's brutal conditions. It looks like we won't have that, so looking more like scores in the high teens. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Overall, I think the course plays similarly to last week. Smaller greens, but similarly wide fairways, lots of water, lots of bunkers. And so I think putting up here, I think what it favors is a strong approach game. A lot of the same guys that we saw last week doing well, that hit irons well. That second shot's really going to matter. Similarly, accuracy off the tee, you can put yourself in a position to have a strong approach game by having that strong off the tee game. And then, since we're a Florida course, Bermuda putting specialists. And then, as always in DFS, we're looking at par 5 scoring.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, while we're waiting to jump into the next slide, we can talk about what our beer is for the week.
Yes.
Which I don't even know what this is. Blowing Rock, Cloud Rise Brewing. No, sorry. Blowing Rock Brewing, Cold Rise, Hazy IPA. It's pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, Kelly picked it out again. Very good.
Blowing Rock and Hickory. Okay.
So another local North Carolina beer.
7.2% alcohol.
I know. We're gonna try to hold it together. If you saw our NASCAR stream last week, feel free to check out our NASCAR stream. But I was told we were having some fun by the end of it, so it looked like
like most things related to
the Wii that I keep
this
using?
DFS. This Wii is only Keaton. I don't get to have any fun. I don't get to win DFS, and then he lumps together all the good stuff into a Wii while I'm just here. So
he's putting in hard work, figuring out how to set up our stream, making sure everything looks good,
making sure my right ear doesn't leave the camera every other time.
That's okay. Half my torso's out.
I got a haircut. No one even noticed.
Oh, wait till the comments. Please,
Yeah,
someone
if
please
you-
comment
yeah,
if you
yeah.
notice Ricky's haircut.
Haircut, comment. Make some statements about that. And also, just as a whole, though, but if you want to make any comments about what we're saying, what we're not saying, make sure to put it down there. We will respond. I know last week we had a couple that we were very appreciative of on the NASCAR stream.
Yep.
And I think Keaton's reaching out to them on the follow up for his promise of what'd you promise?
Five DraftKings dollars. We're gonna send you
Promise
$5 to put on PayPal.
10 kegs of beer.
Yeah, I wish. And hopefully you can turn that 5 DraftKings dollars into 10 kegs of beer. So
Yeah, and just going off of that, if you follow the link in the description to mine, this is actually for me. So if you're like, hey, Keaton doesn't need any more help, but Ricky really does, I do need help. And if you follow the link, sign up, deposit, how much you have to deposit?
$15.
If you deposit $15, me and you both get a $15
$15 ticket, and I think for your first deposit you get $3 a $3 ticket as well. So
yeah, and so the
take some free
possibilities
shots.
are limitless, but in a lot more real way, they're probably not.
You can use that $15 ticket to play the 200K up top DraftKings tournament this week.
That is true, or you can lose it like I do. Well, I mean, I guess you'd still be playing.
You still be playing.
Whatever. Anyways, so nonetheless, follow the links. You'll all be good. But moving on, we're going to move into the fact that this is a cut event.
Yeah.
So last week we talked about a bunch of people, and we didn't even care the fact that on Thursday that Bryson DeChambeau could not hit a golf ball anyways, except if you're Matt Wolf, who decided to not play after
Take his balls and go home.
But so this week is a lot different. I know nothing about this because again, I've never done a cut event, so something that Keaton's going to talk about is how you approach the boom bust nature of cuts, especially guys in the middle, right, or even at the bottom, right, that could pop off.
I think it gives you an interesting opportunity for roster construction. So this week we have 120 guaranteed golfers. There's a few spots extra for sponsorship exemption, so we may see up to 123 golfers.
Still waiting
this
on
week.
my call.
Yeah. So the top 65 in ties will make the cut. So a little over half the field is going to make a cut. And so when we're building rosters, this gives us a unique opportunity to build rosters. There's kind of two schools of thoughts when building rosters, and it kind of depends on the type of tournaments that we're entering. So if we are playing the massive field, like the $78,000 or 78,000 person DraftKings tournament, boom bust, I guess, is a lot more. You don't need the guys that are consistently making cuts because they're not going to help you. A guy that's going to shoot -1 through the whole weekend, unless we have weather like last year where -4 is winning, that consistent like Furyk or some of those older like journeyman type guys, they're like consistently making the cut.
Furyk a journeyman.
Consistently
He played for
making
your
the
country.
cut, but like let's be like clear, those guys aren't winning a tournament, right? Whereas you maybe have someone, I'm trying to think of a good example, like EVR. Van Rooyen is a guy who's
Yes,
like
all
a lot
our
of,
viewers know who EVR is.
a lot of birdies, a lot of bogeys. He can get hot, and so he's a guy that could like very easily shoot +4, +5 on Thursday, Friday, and not make the cut. But if he plays well on Thursday, Friday, he's going to score you a lot of points, and he's a guy that can very easily be in a top scoring lineup.
Yeah.
And so thinking about guys like that are maybe inconsistent, and I guess guys I like to gamble on here are guys that are inconsistent with putting. And so we see this course is
Why's that?
a lot easier because you can get hot, I think, easier with a putt than you can get hot with your irons. And so
Have you
I
ever putted before?
I'm terrible at it, no, and so I have yet to experience the hot. But in theory, I think at least we see in some DFS swings, guys that get hot with a putter can do it through 4 rounds. And so consistent iron game coupled with a hot putter is a combination for a low-scoring weekend. And so those are guys I like to target, guys that are inconsistent in putting but that have that upside.
Yeah.
And then some other guys that I like to target are, I guess we talked about Matt Wolf earlier, guys similar to him that are, I guess, not in great form, but we've seen the upside from.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, +11 on Thursday last week, and then he took his
amongst
balls and went home. So I'm going to keep saying that until it gets a laugh, damn it.
I don't know who would laugh at you.
I didn't even get a smile.
Would it be me?
And so, like, thinking about those type of guys, I guess you can build a lineup that is very likely to get all 6 golfers through, but it may not give you an opportunity to absolutely win a tournament. And in a huge field tournament, that's probably not the best strategy.
If I did try to just get all my people through, does that give me a good shot at least cashing out?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you're going to cash. And then if that's your goal, it's probably better to play a smaller field tournament. Whereas you give yourself a higher chance to get. You don't need the perfect combination, and so just getting 6 golfer through gives you a good chance.
Why is that better for a small?
Because you don't have all the combinations. In a big field tournament, you will have all the combinations.
So kind of like a lower entry.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Lower number of entries, so there's less combinations in there. So that the fact that you have all 6 through alone is super valuable.
Okay. Cool.
And in different cut events, it differs. I mean, in events where we have some of the big names miss, you'll see cut rates. So a few sites will publish cut rates on Saturday morning. You'll see, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe in the Genesis Invitational.
A bunch of people missed, right?
Yeah, we had a few big names missed. JT missed. Trying to think, I can't think off the top of my head who else missed. Rory might have missed. And so only 8% of DraftKings lineups had 6 of 6 make it through. And so having 6 of 6, like even if you built that median lineup, I mean, you're already ahead of 92% of lineups. You're not only cashing, you're cashing pretty well. And so it's an interesting kind of game theory thought to kind of how you're building lot rosters.
I think there's definitely like depending on how many rosters you're going in, right? Like if it's a 20 entry league, like I could definitely envision like keeping like 4 or 5 that are just like guys I feel like are not going to miss the cut.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Like, some boom busts on other ways, or maybe incorporating some more basically different levels of risk, but.
I think building different lineups too helps. Like here, I think we've seen Europeans dominate. So I've actually built, just kind of in playing around, building lineups with maybe 4 European players or 5 European players. Not that there's really a way to correlate your golfing lineup, but to the extent we've seen Europeans do well here, it can be a fun way to build rosters.
Yeah. I think we got everything here. The Friday sweat that he was talking about, getting all your guys through. Watching that gives you something to do on a Friday afternoon if for some reason you're not working. So, nonetheless, now we're going into the course itself. This is the most fun hole in the course, and because of Bryson DeChambeau's probably, let's call it utter
hubris.
Yeah, that's what we'll go with. Yeah, pick a word.
Man-sized.
Did he proclaim that he was going to?
He said he's going to do it, but I can't imagine that he'll do it in a real game. He'll certainly do it in the practice course. So what we're talking about here is attempting to drive straight across this lake to get to the green. Most golfers, or almost all golfers in the field, will play 4 shots around the lake.
If I could get remotely close to it, I would definitely do it.
I think it's almost 400-yard carry.
I heard 402, yeah.
John Daly, I think in the early 90s, maybe late 90s, tried to do it and shot an 18 here. Put 13
My favorite fact about that
lake.
is that he birdied 7 after he got an 18.
That's a mental shift there. I don't know if I can get my head right.
He put like his 15th shot like right here, and then he boinked it off of a rock into this bunker over here, and then he chipped up and 2-putted.
All right. So
which you saw none of that, but he put it like 130 yards out on like finally like his 15th shot where he stopped going for the green. He basically just like hit driver straight towards the green, and it did not work at all. And then finally he decided to lay up and only left it like 130 or 140. And then he boinked it off of a rock into a bunker. Then finally chipped up and finished the hole. He said he was in good spirits when he finished all of it.
It's gotta be fun, right? But I have to imagine Bryson.
No, it could not be fun. Absolutely not.
Bryson's going to be laying it up. He's not going to be going for it, but he will take a large chunk over that water. And it sounds like we'll probably get some good stuff, I guess, probably tomorrow out of the practice round to see what he goes for.
So, moving on. We got the field. What does the field mean?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the field. I think one of the things I'm looking at mostly this week, I think we already touched on it a little bit, is approach game.
Are you not looking at who drives it the furthest?
No, this week I'm probably not going to be looking at who drives it the furthest. I think driver accuracy is really important this week. I think being able to choose where you're taking your second shot from is really important on this course. But these are guys.
You don't get to choose. You have to hit your second shot from where your drive ended.
I'm learning about this about golf. Yeah.
Like, I know you don't watch golf all that much. You just play the DFS, but like you have to hit it where it ended up.
But choosing where you hit your second shot from super important. But these guys are some of the best at hitting second shots, almost independently of where they're hitting from. So we saw last week some of these guys at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah,
Actually, we saw a lot of these guys towards the top of the leaderboard. I think this course will
All
play the
these guys
same.
really, right?
And,
Oosthuizen played really, really well.
Yeah,
on
he paid off his
Sunday.
price tag like crazy. Webb finished
Webb played well. I don't know
Reed
who
kind of
Connors
faded a little
is,
bit.
but-
Connors wasn't in the field last week. He
Okay,
didn't
well, that
qualify.
makes sense.
Scheffler we saw play well.
Yeah.
Hovland obviously we saw play really, really well.
He wore an extra large shirt.
Yeah,
He's a medium person.
he would have been in the had he not shot a 4 over on the last on 18 on Saturday.
My favorite meme all week was the Scotty Scheffler wearing that huge shirt, and it said when the PGA professional tells you can't wear a t-shirt, and you buy the extra large off the clearance rack.
I did not see that.
It was like mid to late 90s Tiger fit. It was so baggy.
Well,
It
next
was a
week tune
choice.
into our
It was a
DFS
choice.
fantasy fashion show week, and we will critique what
I
the
will
players
kill
are wearing.
that.
I mean, Rory's. I did like the
Rory's
Rory
was
red.
great. It
with
was the
black
same
thing.
shirt
Yeah.
this Scheffler was wearing.
He just wore it.
It was just like 115 times wider.
Nike could only hook him up with the XXL.
That shirt was fantastic. Yeah, Rory takes
Rory
all
looked
of the,
great.
He takes all of the mediums and less.
But if only he could have struck the ball as well as he looked.
And I think he will. He hasn't won a golf tournament in like 2 years.
And he's played well at this course. He won in 2018, I believe. He won at this
Couple
course.
years ago, yeah.
And
18 sounds right.
And so, 2018 he won at this course. T5 last year, T6 the year before, first 2018, T4 2017. I mean, he's done well at this course.
I'm going to have him in a lot of lineups.
He is the most expensive golfer, as we'll get
is.
here in a minute. He is expensive, but I think there's plenty of value in this field to make it worth it. So, looking on, kind of the other thing I'm looking at this week are guys that just play well in
Speaking
Florida. Rory, top of the list. Guys that, as we go under our second course of this Florida swing, guys that just play well in Florida. So Rory, Billy Horschel, we saw last week literally roll his pants up.
Here's my question about Horschel. When he did roll his pants up, he turned his hat back around. Was that for style, or was that for like actual
95% style, and
Okay.
he looked real cool.
I mean,
He looked real cool. He is a Florida Gator, so he's real familiar with these Florida courses. Sanjay M's another guy we've seen do really, really well. Let's see how he's done at this course. Third and T3 the last 2 times out. It looks like the only 2 times he's played this course. So I guess we'll phrase it as Sanjay's never finished worse than third at this golf course. So just throwing that out
that's
there.
a framing right there.
Tommy Fleetwood, Sam Burns, other guys that have just played really
Tommy
well.
Fleetwood, the hair is always on fleek.
Yeah.
And he also wore the red, and he's sponsored by Nike. So
So I say
he
he's
actually
done
wore
well.
he wore a different shirt though.
He did cut last year here.
He's played like crap lately.
He's on my Florida list though.
He didn't wear the same Nike shirt that Rory wore though.
Did he wear red for Tiger?
He did wear red for Tiger though, and he wore the hat that has the check mark, and then it says golf right underneath the check mark. I don't like it. It's not for me. Finau wore the same one.
Finau, another one playing well.
Anyways, back to this.
So here's our pricing.
So this is
week.
our upper echelon.
Yeah.
This is you only get one of them, or you're paying real cheap for nobody else.
Yeah,
I
you're
guess.
gonna have to fill in your roster with some scrubs if you get more than one of these guys. But I mean, all these guys are great guys to start your roster with. All these guys have a chance to win the tournament. Up here, probably my favorite of this group is probably Rory. Although I got to tell you, Bryson. I guess so. Upside, my favorite is Rory or Bryson. Consistency, I don't think you can beat Hovland.
I think I'm getting Hovland in a lot of my rosters this week.
I think since he's a little bit cheaper, he's paying $900 less than Rory, $600 or $400 less than the Bryson. I think starting a lineup with Hovland and going down from there is a good strategy. I also think, as we're going to talk about, it's a viable strategy to bypass this entire group and start with our big bulk here in the 9s and have a little more balanced lineup. Particularly thinking about getting all 6 guys through the cut.
Yeah.
I think you can give a really interesting lineup construction starting here with someone like Fitzpatrick or Sanjay, who have both played really well at this course. Fitzpatrick finished tied for 9th last year, 2nd the year before. We talked about him, literally never finished worse than 3rd at this course.
Paul Casey, I don't think has ever missed a cut in his life other than the one that he's missed this year. But no, Jason Day, somebody that could go out there and go low. but obviously you also see his FPPG, fantasy points per game. Why is it game? Why is it? Anyways, points per tournament is what I'm going to call them. Is substantially lower. But that being said, if he makes it through, gets there, he's going to be good. Spieth, somebody who, honestly, Spieth's got to win at some point.
Spieth's got to win another
He's too
tournament
good.
again. He is too
He's
good.
just too good.
And he's been playing really well of late. He's never actually played this course, which I was surprised when I was digging into a little bit of research for this course. He's never played here.
He doesn't even know where it is.
But he's played well in Florida. He's been playing well recently. His Sundays have been a little off.
Actually.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. I was going to buy into that. Spieth is a guy that I will have a little bit of this week because I think he's got some good form, good upside, and there's a chance he just goes out and gets that W.
There you go. Yeah. And that's a 9. And that's kind of what Keaton was saying, that one of his strategies may or may not be kind of just bulking up. That's probably not right. But like stacking up on these 8 and 9 guys,
because you have $8,300 per golfer as an average. So say you start with someone like Sanjay and Spieth, and so we've only spent $2,400 over our median salary. You don't have to go that much lower as we drop into the 8s to kind of fill out. You fill out with a handful of guys in the 8s, maybe pick 1 or 2 guys in the higher 7s. Yeah. Call it a day, and you have 6 golfers with a really good shot at making the cut.
Yeah, and then here's my question on this. One thing that I've noticed is like week to week, you get these guys that like go off one week, and the next week they go from being 7,000 to 8,900 and that type of thing.
Our boy Billy Ho.
Because what was he last week? He was
7,600
or 76.
Maybe 74, but yeah, he was in the lower.
He was below 8, and so now he's
pushing 9.
Pushing 9. How do you evaluate that?
Yeah, a lot of times those are guys I probably want to stay away from unless it's a guy that's just striking. Like Hovland went up this week. We saw him go up a lot of bit. I mean, his ball striking, he looked so good last week. He's a guy I just can't see myself not putting in lineups.
What's the price for Morikawa this week? We looked at him
Morikawa's down to... is he in the field this week, actually? I think he might have taken the field off. Yeah,
he jumped off this week?
Yeah, he's... A lot of guys do that after they get a win. They,
why wouldn't you?
I mean, have a couple drinks, go do whatever. But it's hard to get back...
especially with the players next week.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the hard part, right? Is they're like, if you commit to this after you played the WGC last week, you're playing 3 weeks in a row. So that makes sense. But yeah, I find it interesting because like I don't know how to deal with that, right? Like somebody like Oosthuizen who played really, really well last week, and so we talked about how it was really important that this course is very similar to last week, but also then like we're building that in, and is it almost like a red herring?
A little bit. It might help with the ownership. I think Horschel, with him finishing T2 last week, his ownership is probably going to be pretty high, even at that higher price tag. So he's probably someone I'm going to avoid this week. Mm-hmm. He played well last week. He didn't play extremely well. On Sunday, he faded a little bit. I mean, he's still well enough to finish T2, so clearly played well. But yeah, he's probably a guy with his pumped up price tag I won't have a ton of this week. Especially,
Horschel?
Yeah, Horschel. Especially because in that range, I'd rather play Oosthuizen. I'd probably rather play Sam Burns. I'd probably rather play Willie Z. So yeah,
but he's kind of in a similar boat though, right? He's been playing so hot lately, and he just kind of keeps creeping up.
Yeah, Willie Z's been pretty consistent. I think he was maybe 8,100 last week. He's up to 8,600 this week. So he's up a little bit. I think the field is probably a little softer this week with some of the bigger guys out. DJ and Rahm aren't playing this week. Yeah, Willie Z's still another guy. He's going to get a win. He's. I would like to see him win. Sam Burns is another one that's going to get a win if he can put a Sunday. If he can put 4 rounds together, he'll win a tournament. We've seen him put 3 rounds together a lot. Who's interesting to me in this range is Harry English. He was super, super popular. We saw him almost 30% owned last week.
And it did not go well.
Yeah, he went out and really played poorly on Thursday. He scored some points Friday and Saturday, not enough to pay off his salary.
I thought he played very poorly on Sunday.
Did he not play well on Sunday? But he played Saturday, Sunday, he put some scoring.
I didn't have him in my lineup, so I wasn't watching.
But he was a guy that was super popular who didn't do well. And when you have guys that are super popular, they were popular for a reason, right? He projected to do well at that course. He does well in Florida generally, but he let a lot of people down. You'll see his ownership plummet this week, and so that's a chance. For all the same reasons we liked him last week, I still like him this week. And if you're telling me people aren't going to own him or roster him because he played poorly last week, then this to me is a Harry English week. So let's go.
Yeah. Following that up, Leishman, he's won, 2 out of the last 5?
Yeah, he's a runner-up. What do we see? Leishman was winner a couple years ago. He was he's second last year, T23, T7, and then first in 2017. So he's another one that has great course history.
Yeah. Just looking down just from my upwards of 1 week of experience, Homa did really. I thought he did well even off of his. Did he win?
Yeah, Homa won 2 weeks ago
in Genesis
in California.
I thought he still performed well. It wasn't great, but he still performed well.
For coming off a win and for playing on a completely different surface, coming from Poma to Bermuda, he did play well.
I feel like it's pretty promising as somebody that's like who you're looking at to like perform consistently to be able to come off of that and do that.
And at his price tag, I think he makes a lot of sense at that price tag. Kevin Na's another guy.
He was in the optimal lineup last week.
Was he? Kevin Na was?
Apparently.
Yeah, Kevin Na's another one that he's a boom bust, right? So I worry that he could withdraw from this tournament.
At the time.
Yeah, exactly. So there are players that I'm concerned, particularly with Arnold Palmer next week. If guys, I mean, we don't have to worry about it because there is a
PGA's next week. Arnold Palmer's this week.
I'm sorry. the Players Championship's next. Or no, what do we have next week?
We have the Players.
The Players Championship.
What did I say?
PGA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Players next week.
We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we prep 1 week at a time. This is a daily fantasy show. This is not a season-long show.
We're better than the right week.
So I just worry that players have a tendency to withdraw. We saw Jason Day withdraw 2 years in a row, and then show up famously posting pictures to Twitter at Disneyland. So
as we all would.
Yeah.
Moving down to kind of the under 7,000 mark. I know you were saying that basically it's hard to pick.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys down there that have promise, but this is your boom bust range. These are guys where I'm building lineups in my big field tournaments. I'm putting in 4 guys I feel good about up top, and I'm coming down to this range to fill out kind of what I think of as 2v2s. So if I've built my 4 up top that I like, I may mix and match my remaining 2 with guys down here that fit out the rest of the salary. And so I may enter that lineup 3 different times with my main 4 and then mixing the last 2 3 different ways. Because what you're ultimately trying to find is the guys that make the cut, guys that play well. Because if you're able to nail your 4 and then through your combination of 2s down here, you're able to find the 2 guys that finish 5th and 7th out of this low range, you have your recipe for a really high score. Yeah,
that makes sense. Going down, I don't know a lot of these people. That's where I came in. I know EVR, we were talking about Evan Ruin earlier. He was somebody that I honed in on last week and ended up doing really well, especially he had a really, really good Sunday, which may or may not lead into another good week.
Hopefully you can carry that
forward. I feel
right?
like that's kind of where you're always at. Like you always want to take you could be like, yeah, it's going to lead into a really good week, or it could not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Rom hit a birdie putt on like one of the holes on Sunday, and the announcer goes, "This will probably help him a lot as he goes into the Players because he played so bad."
Any positive momentum, I guess you grasp onto whatever you can get.
So I do like EVR even again because it's a similar course. And like I said, he's a known quantity for me.
And he's not that much more pumped up. I think it was 6,200 last
he
week,
was cheap
up
last
to
week
6,900. So he's not pumped up too much. Patrick Rogers, we saw, had a good 2 weeks ago. Finished, I believe, in the top 10.
Is he related to Kenny Rogers?
Yeah, and also Aaron Rodgers, yes.
Does he know when to... No, that's a different spelling for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, shoot, no D. Okay.
Does he know when to hold him and when to fold him?
Yeah, possibly. So then continuing our kind of European golfer trend, we have Norlander and Tringale. I'm going to butcher that name.
I'd call that Tringale personally.
That seems right.
That seems like a very normal way to pronounce that name.
But we've seen both those guys play well. Both priced pretty low. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised to see Tringale's pricing down that low. He's been playing really well. If I had to wager, I would guess his ownership gets pretty extreme. And then Taylor Gooch is another player we've seen play really well the last few tour events that we've seen him play. And yeah, I think down low, you have a lot of options, but these are just some of the ones we liked, or that I liked a little bit better.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I think Keaton was now going to build what he likes as a lineup. I think what we'd like to see you do here is not necessarily your optimal lineup, but you talked about how a couple times where you have when you approach a multi-entry type game, how do you pick those? So you talked about how you pick kind of a top heavy or pick 4 and then not 2. How do you do that? Kind of walk us through that. Not necessarily saying this is who I think is going to win the $250,000 this week.
Yeah,
how you do that?
I usually am starting to look for what I think of as like my core players, and so I'm looking for through the rosters guys that stand out to me either as mispriced or guys that I think have outsized upside, and then I usually am starting there. So this week, just for example, if we like Rory or if we like Bryson, I actually like Hovland a lot this week, so I probably am starting with Hovland in a lot of my lineups. Okay. So if we were to do a builder, that's probably where I would start. It's a little bit scary to fade Rory. It's a little bit scary to fade Bryson, but kind of building the lineup in my head and thinking about a situation that gets us a W. If both those guys go out and play poorly, starting our lineup with a little bit lower priced first guy gives us a more money to spend on the rest of our roster. So starting with someone like Hovland that I'm confident in, he's probably someone I'm going to be super overweight this week on, which probably means he'll miss the cut. But he's probably someone I'm going to be cramming into a lot more of my lineups. And so I guess I hone in on the guys that I really, really like. So someone like that, then I'm looking down from that point down to finding maybe 2 or 3 more guys in that upper 8s, lower 8s range. And then from there, once I've kind of honed in on like 3 to 4 guys that I'm saying this is my core, then I'm seeing what I have left to spend, looking at average salary that I have left. But if it tells me my average salary is $6,800, I know there's probably not going to be 3 golfers at $6,800 I like, so I'm going to have to spend up, spend down. And so kind of looking around that range
probably
of guys
like the
that
list
I like.
that we have, right?
Exactly, yeah. So like this list that I have here. So I know if $6,800 is what I've got left, I know I can't even afford to roster 3 of the guys on here. So I know I'm going to have to get someone lower than Patrick Rogers even.
And do you have any guys that you key on there?
Yeah, so I haven't dug too much into the lower list. That's something I'll definitely do as we get through this week. But there are guys that I'll end up keying on, but more so in the lower range, I'm probably going to be mixing and matching more than keying in. Rarely do I find a guy in the lower range that I'm just willing to rest my hat on. I think that's where some of my worst weeks have been, where I've decided to get overweight on, like last week it was Harry English for a lot of people, that people were overweight on Harry English, and he burned a lot of people's rosters. I think golf is such a week-to-week game that as soon as the field tells me they're really confident in a player, that's probably when I don't want to be rostering them. Yeah,
and that makes sense. That's kind of the DFS game theory that you've been talking about. Is that like if you get to a point where everyone else kind of feels like it's going to happen, you might as well say it's not going to happen, because that's how you even get close to winning.
Yeah, you just differentiate yourselves. I think as a general rule, humans are really apt to inflate probabilities. Like if you tell someone that
what are you talking about?
Something is like 65% to happen,
literally can't go tits up.
Like yeah, exactly. In their mind, like 65% is a sure thing. Like that is happening. And so I'll just take the other side of that. I'm happy to take the lower edge that I think humans as a whole are really bad at estimating.
Oh yeah, I mean I can't estimate. Is there 3 people in this room? No. That's completely fair, and I think that's an interesting way to look at it, because that's what I struggle with a little bit. I kind of hone in on guys, and I think that's, especially if you watch our, if you come back and watch our NASCAR, when like we talk about that, is where I struggled was some of my lineups were really, really close, but I honed in on a few guys and grouped them together, and the guys that went off, like William Byron in the NASCAR one, I coupled them with somebody who ended up getting into a wreck, Algarola, and so it didn't matter that I knew that, like, I had a good shot that William Byron was going to do really well, because it didn't matter, because I'd grouped him with someone who was doing very poorly. And I think that's kind of what happened last week with me in golf, right? With Wolf and Bryson, was that,
because Bryson ended up in the top lineup. So.
Exactly, yeah. Bryson ended up doing really well. Like, yeah, he put it up a 64 on Friday, and everyone was like, "Oh, I guess he is good at golf."
Yeah.
And so, but I probably had 10, 15 lineups that were just had one person.
Yeah, so if you had 20 total lineups with Wolf, 20 total lineups with Bryson, but 15 of them had Wolf.
Yeah.
I mean, those were just all thrown away, and it didn't matter how well Bryson played the rest of the week. So that is, I mean, that's important, especially in golf where there really isn't that correlate. I know we talked like Bryson and Wolf tend to play well at same courses, and maybe, I mean, in golf that's probably overstated. I think, I mean, you do have your archetypes that do well. Like we think, approach guys will do well this week. We thought bombers would do well last week, but I mean, as we learned last week, I mean,
it might have been more.
Last week was an approach week, also. It turns out.
There was no way of knowing.
But who knows? No one to play that course. Yeah, exactly.
Also, maybe if like Bryson just didn't go out and play so bad on Thursday, he would have won.
Yeah, Bryson would have easily won that tournament if he had put together 4 straight rounds. But and who knows? Maybe it's because he hadn't played that course since 2015. He. I guess had a practice round on Wednesday.
I do think it's interesting though, like the people who like the courses you haven't played versus like the ones you play all the time, like whether or not you're better and that type of thing.
Yeah, but then you have guys like Willie Z. I mean, every course out here is his first time. I mean, is this he's still on the tour.
He plays every week,
and he plays well every week. But these are all, I mean, new courses for him every week. So it almost, you think last week you would have had an edge, it being new for everyone.
I mean, and he played well.
And he played well.
Great, but he played well. But yeah. I think that's a perfect segue to the end, which we don't have a last slide today, do we?
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Definitely check out our NASCAR stream this week. You'll see I had a really good NASCAR week as well. First week playing NASCAR.
Did not have a really good NASCAR week, and I'm still pretty bitter about it, purely because I had tried really hard, and that's important.
Yeah, I had a really good week, about 10x my buy-ins and my first ever NASCAR. So hope to keep that going. We'll be talking NASCAR next week, guys.
Yeah, we'll be talking NASCAR on Saturday?
On Saturday.
Yeah. It's really interesting. NASCAR is something that we'll definitely be talking about, the knowledge versus DFS knowledge that I think I gave Keaton the knowledge, and then he took it and he won.
Yeah, I had absolutely zero NASCAR knowledge, let's be clear.
I did not win. So we'll talk about that. But anyways, make sure to follow us on Twitter now that I have it right underneath my name.
And like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can see when we post that NASCAR stream.
Yeah.
And we'll, as we go forward, I do want to post a few more evergreen type content videos talking more about DFS theory. So if there's other stuff you want to see, let us know.
If you want to watch Keaton talk about DFS theory, you can subscribe to Pin and Pole DFS /.
There's no slash.
Oh no.
All right. If you watch this far, thank you guys.
Anyways, thank you so much. We want to have a little bit of fun. Not everything is statistics and. It's not made up statistics. It's not even real statistics, honestly.
It's all entertainment.
It's like basically like faux statistics.
Semi-educated gambling.
People just like act like they're better than you.
Yeah, seems right.
I don't like it. Anyways, bye everybody.